The X-Men just survived the unstoppable Juggernaut, but the victory is short-lived, because while the team is busy cleaning up the mansion, a new threat is being built in the shadows. One that doesn't just want to beat the X-Men, but to hunt them into extinction. Today, we are witnessing one of the most important debuts in Marvel history. In X-Men 13, we saw what happens when the team faces a monster. But in issue 14, we see what happens when the entire world turns against them. We're breaking down the origins of the Sentinels, the introduction of Bolivar Trask, and stick around to the end of the video for a first look at a massive project coming to the channel involving the X-Men and a certain intergalactic hunter. Yes, hello and welcome back to the channel, where today we're going to be talking about X-Men issue 14 from November 1965, so we're flying right through the mid-60s now. In the last couple of issues, we had a deadly showdown with Juggernaut. They only just survived and came through from that. Amazing that nobody was killed or anything, really. But now we've got a new threat, and we've got a threat that is absolutely incredible. So we've got the Sentinels and their first ever appearance, and goofy appearance aside, it is a bit goofy with the hands and everything. I mean, this is what the Sentinels look like in modern day. I mean, a lot more imposing, massive robots. I mean, it's hard to get a sense of the scale here, but very exciting to see, because the sort of mutant kind, humankind relationship has sort of only been touched on a little bit up to now. And I'm sure this volume is going to speak to that anti-mutant sentiment coming up. So we've got the front cover here, the Sentinel looming over Charles. The X-Men look like they're coming to help. And we've got this guy over here looking a bit scared of the Sentinel as well. So it's interesting to see what's going to be happening here. So without further ado, let's get straight into the issue. So there's a lot to break down on this page. So the first thing that caught my eye really was Scott inside this, like, God knows what's going on there. He's got like a fish tank on his head. It looks more like Mysterio from Spider-Man. But what he's saying is he's worried that the previous encounter with Juggernaut might have strained his powers beyond repair. And this is doing some, I don't know what's going on. He's hooked up to some gas or something. I don't know what's happening. So you got Beast here, he's hobbling about, injured, and Angel, he's sort of trying to get the strength back in his wings. This device does that, apparently. And you got Bobby just chilling in this ice bath. He calls it an ice intensifier. Very interesting. And Jean's just pretty happy over there. There's nothing wrong with her. Interesting moment here where Beast says he feels like one of the mere vulnerable Homo sapiens, and Xavier says, "Oh, hold on, no, we don't do that. We don't consider normal humans as our inferiors." And Beast says, "Yeah, sorry, my bad," basically. The rejuvenation continues on this page. So Angel's told he can remove the harness and start flying around unaided. Charles says, "Beast, try your feet again," see how they're going. And Beast looks like he's coming good. He drops the crutches, doesn't need them anymore. And he says, "It's great to be back to my old self." And there's a nice throwback to issue 10 with Kazar, or Kazar, I should say. Beast makes a crack about Neanderthals, and Jean says, "I hope Kazar doesn't hear you." So it's nice when they chuck those little things in there for the long-time readers. And here, Bobby's told it's probably about time to get out of the ice intensifier before he reaches frigid peak. I don't know what that means. But he makes a cool pun about this being the coolest, and if he's not careful, he's about to receive an unpleasant freeze feedback. So there's all sorts of terms being thrown around. I don't know if these actually mean anything in real life, but it sounds interesting. But yeah, it looks like what they're trying to tell us in that first couple of pages is they got really battered in that last issue, but they're starting to get somewhere back to full fitness, and not before too long by the looks of it. It's vacation time, according to Charles. You've done really well against our enemies. He says it's time for a break. And they're like, whoop, whoop, let's get out of here. While that's happening, we've got the genesis of one of the greatest X-Men villains ever. I really like the villains where they don't have powers. You know, like Juggernaut. I mean, they're all great villains, but these guys who have just got their human minds and they just hate mutants. And we'll have various groups come up through the years, won't we? But to begin with, the first one of note really is Bolivar Trask, and this is a guy who will come up again and again and again, and he's in the cartoons, he's in 2 of the movies, played by different actors. So this guy has endured the test of time, and he is a real menace to the X-Men. But he's basically declaring to the world that these mutants must be stopped. We've been too worried about atom bombs and hot wars, cold wars, but we've got a real problem at home, and that leads to this front page of Mutant Menace. And this is a nice, easygoing page. You've got 3 different things happening at once. Each of the X-Men are getting ready in their own way. So it looks like Bobby's helping Angel strap his wings down so that he can walk around in this suit. And I mean, it's hard to. I mean, personally, to me, I think it's a little bit of a stretch that you can wear this shirt and there's nothing underneath that's visible to me. But for the sake of the story, sometimes he has got to wear normal street clothes. And then you got Cyclops here. I really, really like these two panels here. So he's talking about taking his sunglasses because he can hardly wear this when he's on holiday. And I just like these close-ups of his face here. So he's taking his visor off and he's ready to put on his sunglasses. But he laments that he's so scared of his power. It's something that he lives with every day. And you got Beast here. He's packing up. But, I mean, these normal shoes aren't going to be any good. His feet are so big. It looks like he's strapping his feet down. A little bit like Angel, and he's got these shoes that he has to have specially made by the looks of it. But yeah, everyone's getting ready for the big break. So we have a bit of character development on this page. So Scott's getting ready to sort of ask Jean if she wants to accompany him on this trip to the holiday. But Warren gets in there first, and this is almost like a little bit of a love triangle that comes up every now and again. But he beats him to it, and they're going to ride off in his sports car. And I mean, Scott's thinking to himself, how can I compete with Warren? And we've been through this before, haven't we? A few issues ago, this was brought up, and this has sort of been not drawn out, sort of the wrong phrase. It's developing at a certain pace, which is fine. But it is. It doesn't look like they're going to get together anytime soon. Charles looks like he's going to be stopping behind. He's just meaning for them to go, and everyone waves off Warren and Jean, and Warren certainly noticed how Scott looked at her, and I think he's noticed before what's been happening there, what's been brewing between the two of them. But Scott's sort of purposely keeping a bit of a distance here, he says, because of his potential danger, because of his powers, which we just talked about on the last page. And he's always been a bit of a loner, hasn't he, Scott? So the other two now, Beast and Bobby, they're going to make their way on the bus, and did he want to come with them? And he said, no, I'll hang back. And you got this nice shot of him here of Charles watching him as he walks away, and he can feel that weight of loneliness on him. And that's what Scott does. He distances himself, doesn't he? Isolates himself. But he hands him the paper, and I think we know what's coming next. Charles hasn't read the headline yet, but I think he's about to on this next page. And just as we thought, look, Charles is reading the paper, and yes, Mutant Menace is on the front page. Newspaper's different in some places because that looks like the back page. I see why they've had to do it that way because that's how the artist has drawn the page. But yeah, it's interesting that it's almost back to front. They're like the sports pages where I live. But he says anyway, so it's finally begun, and the witch hunt for mutants, and it's a familiar story, isn't it? So this reflects what's happening in the real world at the time. And I would say, it's 2026 at the moment, and probably not much has changed if I'm honest. So I can easily imagine things like this happening today. There's, the stirring up the hatred, the fear. What if mutants take over and we're all enslaved? And Charles says, I can't let this go on. This is a dangerous way to think, and the propaganda is too much. So he calls up a news channel, or a national television network in any case, and he says, I want to do a public televised debate with Dr. Bolivar Trask. That should be really interesting. And the debate is just about to start. So you've got this character down here says, this ought to be good. And Charles is thinking to himself, the damage is already done. Trask has alarmed the nation, but I must speak out. He has to speak up. And you've got people in various situations watching the show. So it's really good that they do things like that. So it isn't just the action behind the screen. It's good to show the impact it has. And it's good. But I like it when they do that in films and things. It just helps you connect to the fact that this is actually being broadcast to the whole nation. And they've all got the thoughts about it, especially this young lady who actually wonders if he is a mutant himself. And she's very, very close to the truth, isn't she? But she's told to pipe down because the adults want to listen. Moving on, Trask stands up now. So it's interesting that he does that because he puts his side of the argument across, but he stands up. And that shows me he's a man who just can't sit down and debate. He has to tower over Charles and everybody else. And he's going to force his opinion out there. And it's not long before that becomes a reality. So he's got this device here, and he says he's going to demonstrate that the new army of Sentinels are going to take over, and this mutant problem is going to be a thing of the past. And he says, suppose for the sake of illustration that Professor Xavier is a mutant. So we've got this arm here. That's got to be a Sentinel. It's grabbing Charles, and he says, take him into custody. And here we are. The Sentinels are finally unveiled, and this guy grabs Charles, and quite a few of them come out now. I had to laugh a little bit because of the goggly eyes and everything. They look a bit goofy compared to how I see them today. Back then, I'm sure they were absolutely terrifying looking, but yeah, it's one of those things of the power of hindsight. And I'm 60 years removed from this story, so I'm not meaning to knock it too much, but I've never seen them this way before, and it threw me a little bit. But Charles uses his powers, or tries to, and it doesn't work. And I'm going to say it's a little bit of a plot hole that he thinks, damn, I can't use it as a machine. He can use it on Trask, though, and we know that he's got the power to affect people's minds. He could shut them down through him, but that doesn't happen, whether he doesn't think of it in time or, there's no story, is there, if that happens? So that's not something that's even sort of noted at all. But Big Bob, Trask starts ordering them around, and they fire a bolt at him, and they said, we are superior. We're not going to be told what to do by you, and it's our destiny to command, not yours. And some serious regret going on down here. Things are starting to get a little bit hairy in the television studio now, but Charles, of course, got one last card to play. He sends out a mental projection to his X-Men. It's condition red, and they've got to come at once. And I'm beginning to suspect he's wishing he'd not sent them on holiday. I don't know how far some of them have gone. But we go to this place called The Coffee, a Go-Go, which made its first appearance a few issues ago. I remember regular commenter Benjamin Kellogg being quite excited about that, and he said that it would pop up quite a lot, and here it is. I think this is probably the second time. And we've got this girl called Zelda here. Was she the girl that Bobby was talking to in the last issue there? I imagine so. And he's sweet talking her, and it looks like there's going to be a date on the cards, but oh dear. They've been summoned by Charles, and it's time to go. And she's not very impressed by that. And it's another date ruined by the looks of it. But they're on the way, and I'm sure the rest of the X-Men won't be far behind. We've got the rest of the X-Men getting ready now. So these guys are at a telephone booth, and it's hardly Superman spinning around, is it? It's a bit awkward. And you've got Bobby putting on these boots. I hate the boots. I really hate the boots. So he's messing about, putting these boots on. What does he need the boots? Why has he got the boots? And he says that he keeps them in his pocket and they're soft. And this whole boot thing really annoys me. But anyway, he's putting on the boots and they're on the way. And they're going down this slide and it's cold. And you've got Warren here at home. So they're all doing different things. I got it in my mind that they're all going on one big holiday together, but that's not quite the case. He's just gone to visit his family. And he's not long sat down, and condition red, he's got to go. And he says, Mother, Dad. I don't know why is it not mother, father? Unless that's going to be a hint to some sort of relationship differences between the two. I really don't know. Or maybe I'm just looking too much into it. But he says, I've got to go. And they say, oh, okay, well, you're old enough to know what you're doing. And if we can be of any help, maybe, I don't know. But Angel flies off and he says, oh, well, one day I'm going to have to tell him and trust that they've got faith in him. Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I'm not familiar with his relationship with his parents in the comics. The only thing I've really got to draw on is X-Men 3, the movie, and I'm sure that's going to be very different because that version of Warren is very different to the comic version. But does the relationship with his father carry through from the comics? So that's something to keep an eye on in future issues for sure. One of the Sentinels tells the others what to do. Is this an early version of Master Mold? So future issues will see one Sentinel who's like I guess almost like a super Sentinel. He's called Master Mold, isn't he? So he's almost like the mastermind of all the Sentinels, and that's going to come up at some point. I think that's pretty early on with the Sentinels, isn't it? But he looks exactly the same as the others, and it hasn't really been explained why there's one of them explaining what to do to the others, but I'm guessing that's going to be Master Mold at some point. But they fly off and they take Trask with him. They recognize that there can be no more Sentinels without him, so he must be protected. But they leave some behind to guard the humans, and Charles is using his powers to try and prevent panic in the studio, but he's not powerful enough, and there's this one guy running away. And this threw me a little bit because he uses a mental force bolt to knock him over. What? That is not something Charles can do later down the line. That's like a physical thing he's created with his mind, which is not something I'm familiar with that is part of his power set. But in these early days, it's a little bit all over the place. So I thought it was Cyclops at first, but no, it's actually Charles, and he's using his powers to knock this guy over. Interesting. But anyway, Beast and Bobby turn up, and it's about to get a bit hairier in here, I think. Bobby and Beast seemingly make short work of one of the Sentinels here. So they, you got Beast jumping off his head with a thock and a zit, and Bobby comes in to create a icy floor so that the Sentinel trip over. And I thought, oh, that was pretty easy. And Bobby's saying what's going on here, basically. And Charles quickly explains about these Sentinels. They're here to destroy mutants, but we can't explain. We've got to do something. But when you thought it was so easy, it's a situation in brewing here where there's a heat ray of some kind, and that is really not good for Bobby. And this sort of harks back to the beginning of the issue with his ice intensifier. And they made a big deal out of that, didn't they? And I wonder if this is sort of the flip side of that coin now, where is he going to start melting away like the snowman? And now we've got Scott arriving, and this is a very effective few panels here. So he turns up and he drops his glasses, and his power breaks through the ceiling of the car, the roof of the car, and everyone goes crazy. So the reason this is effective is it's showing that the propaganda is working very quickly. So the cab driver says, "Somebody stop him! He's one of the mutants that we've all been warned about." And this mob starts to form, and they're chasing him. So it's showing you that very, very quickly the public's opinion on the X-Men has become very soured. And just being a mutant in public is going to be a really dangerous thing to do. But he gets away from him, and he's rushing into the TV studio to help Charles. And he gets his uniform on, and he wonders to himself, what danger can there be in a place like this? Well, I think we're about to find out, Scott. It's really starting to kick off now. So Cyclops turns up, and it just manages to avoid getting smashed with this foom of a fist coming down. And this panel's great, isn't it? So he says, brace yourself, Beast. And there's a move that looks like they've been practicing in the danger room, and they call it Operation Duo Smash. So he's going to be a battering ram, and he's going to use his Rape Blast. And it doesn't really work too good. You can see the makings of the move here, but it doesn't quite pull off. And I do really like this panel, actually. This is sort of more in keeping with the Sentinels of the future, because the towering nature of the Sentinel and the fact that it's become very difficult to attack him. It's a great panel, and it shows you that this is just one Sentinel, and they're struggling, aren't they? Just when it looks like Cyclops and Beast are going to be at the end of a sticky situation, the Sentinel sort of seizes up and falls over, and thank God for them, because look at this panel here, they're done for, or it's showing you that it looks like they're about to be in some big trouble. But it falls over, and Charles is brilliant here. He covers for him, because people start to say, what happened? And Charles is the one to speak up, and he makes it sound like the X-Men turned up and the Sentinels left. And at the same time, he's issuing mental orders to them. And this is another fantastic. There's been some really great panels so far, but this is one of the best ones as well. So he's sort of shrouded in darkness, and he's thinking about what's going to happen with these Sentinels and why this one fell. So yeah, very interesting. This is a good page. I do like this one. Angel isn't one of my favorite X-Men. He's if you've been watching along, you'll know that he's, apart from his wings, what's he got? But this is great, actually. So he's flying around. He doesn't know what the Sentinels are yet. He's just come across them, and they've got the guy at the front here says, "Halt! I'm detecting a mutant ahead." And we've got another great panel. So they're all firing at him, and he's maneuvering around, and I'm almost reminded of like a X-Wing TIE fighter sort of chase here, where he's flying around all over the place, and they're not hitting him, but he thinks it's like being attacked by a squadron of Human Torches. So it's a bit of a throwback to last issue where Human Torch was there, and it's another sort of mention of another character from another comic, which always goes down well with me. These guys have got their own maneuvers, so they assume a solo attack posture, and it looks like a little formation almost. And Angel thinks to himself, it's lucky that he has spent so many long hours practicing maneuverability. He'd have been absolutely toast by now otherwise, wouldn't he? It's Jean to save the day here. So I didn't quite click what was happening at first up here, but Warren's pulled down onto this train, and he's held flat against it. And it's one of the best things that could have happened for him, because the Sentinels are looking for this flying creature. They can't find him, and they sort of break off really and give up quite easily. And it's time for them to pursue mutants after they have increased their numbers. So they're flying off, and Jean's getting changed in the train car, and This is a cool moment. So she levitates right out of the window at speed. And it's one of those times that makes me think, did Jean fly ever? I mean, she should be able to telekinetically lift herself up and levitate and fly around, but I don't recall her doing that too often. But in any case, it's a reunion with Warren, and I think he's pretty glad to see her because I think she's pretty much just saved his life. Another interesting page. So in this top panel, Charles is able to sort of probe the mind of the machine, which is something we talked about in issue number 9, I think it was, with the Avengers. So I questioned then whether Charles could sort of read machines, and the general consensus in the comments was that yes, on occasion you can, and that's what he's done here. So he sort of does a sort of semi sort of mind read of the Sentinel. Very convenient for the story. I'm going to say I'm not a fan of him being able to do that sort of thing, but if it's in his power set, it's in his power set. So he's able to decipher not only where the base is for these Sentinels, but he sort of gets the words master mold. So he thinks he heard it. And we talked about master mold a few pages ago, didn't we? So I know who master mold is, and I'm sure most of you watching will know, but these guys don't. And they're a little bit worried about what that means. So it sounds quite menacing, doesn't it? But Charles says, we've got to go to the headquarters. It's only an hour away. And there's more to this menace of the Sentinels that meets the eye. And they're going to find out what's going on. And they're going to find out what this master mold business is all about. Fascinating turn of events here. So the Sentinels have got Trask in their grasp, and they are talking about how they were created to protect. But they were made a little bit too well, weren't they? So what they determine is to protect mankind, they must conquer it. And that is the Sentinels, pretty through and through, really, isn't it? When they've got some sort of consciousness. I'm thinking now of X-Men Days of Future Past, and also the Days of Future Past comic series. And in that film, the Sentinels take the mission too far, and they take it quite literally. And that's very much what's happening here. So they go into this forbidden room, and Trask's words mean nothing to them, and they detect a vehicle approaching. So we're still not quite at that amazing jet stage yet, are we? It looks like the X-Men are appearing in a car. So let's find out where this goes. And yes, it is the X-Men. They've turned up, and they're not quite sure what's happening here because it looks like it's just a hill. I don't know if it's just an English thing or British thing or whatever, but I saw this hill and I was immediately reminded of the Teletubbies. And I'm sorry to bring that into an X-Men video, but it is what it is. It just looks just like it to me. But anyway, it lifts up, and the X-Men, look at this. They're all at 6s and 7s here, aren't they? So it's coming up, and it's left on that cliffhanger. But some great news for people in 1965. In any case, it's going to a monthly issue from now on. So it's going to be monthly. They just keep coming for us, don't they, in the future? But yeah, that's I'm sure that was some welcome news back then. So let's skip ahead, shall we, and take a look to see what that next issue is going to be. I'm sure it's going to be a continuation of this story. There's a lot happening on this page. The first thing that jumped out was Charles. He looks like he's trying to use his powers, but he's in some sort of pain. And the X-Men are fighting the Sentinels, and it doesn't look like it's going that great to me. And Beast, it looks like he's having a bit of a nap while it's all happening. But yeah, he looks injured, doesn't he? So, and we get a little bit extra here, the origin of the Beast. I'm going to quickly note my favourite panel from this issue. It might be something I do going forward. Let me know if you think it's a good addition. But I really like this picture of Scott, this close-up. I always like the good close-up pictures, and we had a really good one with his visor coming off. But ultimately, this was the one I thought that is a really great panel. And there was a lot of great panels. If you want to let me know what yours was, there were so many to choose from. And as these X-Men comics go on, you get more and more great panels almost on every page, don't you? And as promised, a quick sneak peek into something I'm working on. So I like doing the comic stuff. A lot of you will have only known me for that if you've subscribed in recent months. I also do figure reviews. I love collecting figures. And I like doing animation as well. So I'm working on a stop motion film at the moment, and it's going to be quite X-Men heavy. And it's a sort of mashup with Predators. I'm a big Predators fan as well. And it's something I'm working really hard on. It's taken up a lot of the time, which is why my X-Men comics videos aren't coming out as frequently as before, but I am still going to be looking to do about one a week, and I'm doing that as well. So it's going to take me, another month or two to finish up the stop motion movie. It's a lot of work, to be fair, but I'm really enjoying it, and I think it's shaping up to be pretty good. So If you like the comic book videos, if you like the action figure videos, and if you like stop motion, you like the look of these pictures, please subscribe. Please like and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next video. See you next time. Bye-bye.